Human Rights Commission, because it is not only left to situations where there are problems. There is constant engagement between the police and the Commission on human rights issues. And also, as a ministry responsible for the police, we do oversight on certain, issues. Certain complaints are sometimes lodged, is aware, to the minister, and we look into them at the level of the ministry. I just want to also not hold the phone for my other, line departments, but perhaps it was short-sighted from the level of the ministry, knowing that the only institution that has a human rights unit is the police. So the other institutions, we are not informed. I will take that blame. But this also reminds us of the need to establish human rights unit within the other institutions.
The fact that we listed them, because if you go to the national law enforcement agencies, they do arrest.
Yeah.
And they have the power.
I agree with you.
And immigration also. That's why you would have loved for them to be here. Yeah. But since you said you are solely responsible, the committee will make some comments, and if there is a need, you would name who you ask them to come another day. But I'll allow my colleagues to, anybody who wants to intervene, yes, on the side.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, for giving me the floor. I just want to make an appeal. Next time, if witnesses come here, let them swear. Because they have that authority to do so. Let them swear to the Quran or the Bible, whatever faith they have. Because what I find is so interesting. All what the IGP said it here, I find them very not capable of belief, and that's my opinion. Now, yes, you can establish a human rights issue, but is it working well? Are you monitoring the progress of that unit? You just establish it for the sake of establishing it, but if are they functioning? I doubt it very well. That's why I find it very incapable to believe what the IGP presented as far as the human rights commitment of the Gambia Police Force is concerned. Now, for us to start with the level of police brutality, I think this country has the highest level of police brutality in West Africa. In my opinion, we have the highest level of police brutality in West Africa, and I'm going to hold the IGP accountable for this, because for me, there is nobody in this police force that has got more experience than my brother, Mr. IGP. So we have to look at this issue very, very seriously. Like, for instance, even though you were not here, you were not the IGP during the Faraba issue, but the records are there. I didn't see anything that has been implemented as far as the Faraba issue is concerned, and this is still under the police. So there are few police officers, they were captured on audios and videos insulting a whole tribe, insulting a political organization, and they are still wearing uniform. And these audios were all over and are still visible to the management of the IGP. If you instigate a whole tribe or a political organization, this can lead to a serious chaos in this country. And they are police officers wearing your police uniform. No, nothing is done about it. That is why when you say officers were dismissed based on abuse of human rights, and officers, some are reduced in ranks by way of abuse of human rights, I want this committee to ask from the IGP to give us the list of all the officers that are dismissed because of abuse of human rights, and all the officers that were reduced in rank by way of abuse of human rights. We want the IGP to send the list of those officers to this committee latest next week. You look at, in my constituency, there is this lady called Fatou Boy. This lady can die at any time because of police brutality. I remember when election results were announced, this was under the present IGP. You sent the police, to Patridia's house, to tear gas into that house. And IGP didn't do anything about that. You did not do anything about it. Whether the directives come from you or anything, we didn't do anything about it. Because one thing I know, nobody is going to be detained in this country without awareness. Nobody is going to be arrested in this country without you giving authority. So that very evening, a whole battalion of the IGP went to the Hussein Dago's house and threw this thing, the tear gas into his house. And the IGP did not make a single comment about it. No police officer made a single comment about it. Your human rights unit did not make any comment about it. And you are now coming to tell me that you have a serious human rights unit operational in the police. That is very disappointing and it's not capable to brief. This lady can die anytime for she lives in that Tekunda Sabi. She can die anytime because of police brutality. So I don't think what has been said here is something that we can believe. You go to Mr. Chati also, when Mahmoud Sabal was rejected, this boy was also seriously beaten. The videos are there. Those responsible, are they still in the police or the police has implemented them? So that is my submission. Let's take our work very, very seriously. Let's not just think we are appointed by somebody. If you don't do this, you will be dismissed. No, it's more than that. Let's sacrifice for this nation. Let's just make sure the concern of this nation, the problem of this nation is very on the forefront, especially IGP. It's a very powerful figure in this country, please. Let's just make sure people's rights are protected, people are secure in this country. Another thing is the professionalism in the Gambia Police Force. Train you guys on crowd management. You've been saying this on and on. Your officers will be trained on crowd management, but still, even tomorrow, if there's any protest, your officers go out there, beat or kill somebody. So why is that crowd control technique that probably budget was allocated for 5 years or so? So that's my submission. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Member. You said something. I think you should put it in the motion form. It is the second letter you come. The motion that you are requesting for the list of what?
Officers that were dismissed based on abuse of human rights and officers that were reduced in rank because of abuse of human rights.
Let me.
You will just take note.
Yeah.
Just take note of members' concerns and
Honorable members, I put a motion to request the office of the Inspector General of Police to supply us with the name of all the officers that the IG says were dismissed based on human rights abuse and were reduced in rank based on human rights abuse. We want the IGP, the office of IGP.
Yeah, let me clarify.
Okay.
I am giving a submission, and I'm saying in case if you have after the investigation recommendation are done, you can do this. I make sure.
Let's go to the record.
allow him to finish. Allow him to finish, Honorable Member. Can you allow him to finish, please? Allow the ID to finish, and you all have your turns.
Honorable, I think this standing committee is the Honorable House.
Absolutely.
Definitely. I think also the office of the IGP also is a very respectable
Indeed.
office.
Very respectable.
I think decorum also is very important.
Indeed.
All right, but you cannot just sit and then say the IGP is lying. All right. No, I'm coming. If you are crazy to believe.
Excuse me. ID, please. 1 minute.
I don't think I said the
Excuse me, Honorable Member. Please address the chair so that it's not a conversation between the two of you.
Thank you, sorry, Chair.
Thank you. So please, Honorable Member, allow him to finish. Are you done?
Yes.
I think you want to make a clarification. Let's hear the clarification.
Yeah. What I'm saying, I said we have a human rights unit, and in that human rights unit, like my directive 05/2021 was developed to reinforce and power investigation against police outing punitive measures. That you can be reprimanded, transfer, taken to CB, demotion, discharge, or even dismissed extra in case the investigation recommended that.
That's contrary to what he said.
Yes.
Okay, just a minute. It's a written thing. We will ask the IDP to we'll ask the office to make copies of that presentation so that we all have one for record purposes. Before that, the Honorable Vice Chair's hand was up. You did raise your hand before Allah Ablaye.
I have an observation.
Okay,
I passed a motion.
wait. Let's listen to the observation. We will clarify that.
Yeah, my observation is that we call the security to brief us. And it is our duty to raise issues. But let's not make overly statements. Let's just raise issues and allow them to respond to those issues. I think that's why we are here. We are not here to make elaborate statements because that is going to
confuse the whole school. We are here to get information from to equip security, to be equipped. That is the objective of this tool.
Yes, I just want us to correct ourselves. I know it's important, like Honorable Tura said, the issue here is for the police department to brief the committee on the activities of, the Ministry of Interior and the police department. As my honorable colleague have an issue with what the IGP said, maybe there could have been an option for him to go and send a parliamentary question to, the ministry to come up with, a detailed answer to what he is requesting. Maybe we want to get into that dialogue. Probably will bring in so many other chaos within what we are saying here, because the IGP, what he said was very clear. When investigation recommends, that are steps that they will take. That is what he says. So what my honorable colleague is saying, perhaps there is no investigation in that matter. So maybe that's not the responsibility of the IGP at the moment. So I just wanted to
thank you very much, Chair. I want to thank you and thank the Command Secretary of Interior and the Inspector General of Police for coming. I think as Honorable Ture and Honorable Sise indicated, we called them in view of expecting to get an information from them. And this information, whether we believe it or we don't, is for our consumption. When they present, that's what he has as facts to the best of his knowledge and or no. Having answered to our call, that's our constitutional mandate to perform an oversight on them, and that's what we are doing. And his presentation, if we have any issues with it, we can do with them, even if we agree. This committee can go further to look at any issue an officer submit before us, whether in committee or in plenary. We want to make other follow-up, we can. We want to an informed decision. This is just going to help us to form an informed decision. Then it is for us to agree or to disagree, but we will know how to get it. And what IG said is very clear. Since he took over, or from 2017 to now, we all know the Office of the Inspector General of Police, they are doing their best, even though there is no perfect system in the world. But what he told us, they are doing their best to make sure they respect people's human rights as they relate to their detentions or arrests or prosecutions or whatever. We also have constitutional provisions and the Police Act that if we think as a committee in charge of human rights, there are individual police officers who violated people's rights, human rights, and it's before our table. We can invite anybody, whether it's the police who committed that, or the NIA, or the Army, or the prison department, or the fire service, or any other individual who committed human rights violations, as they fall under the mandate of the Human Rights Committee. We have the right to look at that and or to even investigate. And as empowered by the Constitution, we can even recommend for a commission of inquiry, we can examine people when we call them as witnesses, but here, we just call them to come and give us an overview. I think even to say less for them to be on board, because it's just to come and give us an explanation. So thank you.
Mr. Chair, just a minute, let's have Kande. After Kande and also then
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you very much, Inspector General of Police and the team. Thank you, colleagues. We need to take human rights issues very important. They are salient issues that affect our brothers, that affect our sisters, that affect us as a human being. When talking about human rights issues, yes, we have the mandate to invite the Inspector General of Police or the Minister of Interior and the agencies under his purview to come here and give us report pertaining to human rights issues. And these human rights issues we have heard from the Inspector General of Police. He did make mention of some of the issues that had happened and some of the issues that are on the investigation at his department. All right. And the permanent secretary for Minister of Interior did make mention of very important issue here, that the police department is constantly working in unison with the Human Rights Commission in this country. But we have seen an instances where a Human Rights Commission did make a finding on an issue, and the perpetrator in that respect was transferred from here and was sent to Farafeni. This Inspector General of Police, Abulai Sanya, when he came to power, he brought that man back. And the Human Rights Commission did follow that issue. We want to know, Mr. Inspector General of Police, what is the decision? What is this? What led you to take that decision? And if you take it on a very serious ground, let us know these grounds. Because people cannot inflict pains on human beings, and their disciplinary actions were taken, and you unilaterally, because of your appointed, take that individual from where he is and brought it. And this man was found by a commission. We want to know what led you to take that decision. That is one. And the second one is, we have seen in this country, under the watch of Inspector General of Police, so many human rights violations. One among them we have seen on the social media, that police officers in uniform can come out and celebrate, and celebrate issues meted on politicians in this country. That should not be accepted. Under your watch, Inspector General of Police, we urge you to take these human rights issues seriously, because it's your responsibility to protect life and properties of this country. And human rights is a serious issue. We urge your office to take these things seriously. Thank you, sir.
Okay, I have a question for IGP. Well, he made mention about professionalism, international standards, and sensitization. I am just concerned on his plans onto how far, or what are the plans for him to bring sensitization to the doorstep of all police officers, since it's very important. And these human rights issues are concerned since myself, as a honorable, I have stood and see a police officer slapping a culprit, which was not expected. So definitely the sensitization is paramount, and I would definitely want to know how you plan and how fast you are on this sensitization. Thank you.
Yes,
Before the ID comes.
Yes, Chair. I just wanted to say that human rights concerns are not static, they're dynamic, because anything that involves human being has a level of continuity. And in terms of human rights violations, we all keep saying that human rights is not a one-way traffic. Someone's rights, where someone's rights, that's where someone's right also starts from. Where it stops, that's where the other one starts from. And the issue is many times it is as if the police and the security men don't have human rights. They don't have human rights. Do you understand? Whether, it is only the civilians that have human rights, the police don't have human rights. The way it is framed, I'm not holding any fault for anybody. But we need to understand that in a democratic situation, sometimes we always say that in the Gambia, things happen democratically very quick. We are from one end of the pendulum to the other end of the pendulum at a high speed, from a dictatorship to an absolute democracy. It is very expensive, because people are still grappling to understand what are the tenets of democracy in this country. People take the law in their own hands in this new democratic dispensation, because we are still grappling with the tenets of democracy. And what I just wanted to end up, sir, is that national security is very costly. It's a very costly enterprise. Should we allow few people to disquiet the peace?
Never.
Or should we take care of a small group of people for the national good? This is a very difficult job to do. It's a very difficult job to do. I'm not supporting any human rights violation here. I'm not supporting that because that's not my role. But we have to have some candid conversation in this country with regards to both human rights abuses and the excesses of the public, particularly meted against the security forces. This has to be also understood. I rest my case, sir.
Thank you. Before the item comes, I want to assure you that that is why the laws are in place.
Yes.
The law is not favoring anybody, so it's not a matter of taking the kind of a small few number of people against the majority or the majority against the few. The law should prevail.
Exactly.
And the law enforcing officers are the police.
Exactly.
That's why they are different from us. Their trainings are different from us.
I agree.
If I go against the laws, how I should be handled is what they are trained for. In that process, we want people's right to be respected. Just like the IGP said, or you said, when somebody is accused of something, he's presumed innocent until found guilty by competent court. So in that process, the police are the ones that are handling that. The way they handle that, that's why every eye is on them.
I understand.
They have their rights. They have their rights. They're human beings. They have their rights. And this committee will stand for their rights in the need comes.
Thank you, sir.
So we are here for everyone.
Thank you, sir.
So IGP, do you have any responses?
What I want to add on is if the two honorable members have issues with a particular case, they should raise those cases and for answers for us to come and defend those cases. But if you talk in vacuum concerning like the honorable member for Lazikunda mentioning the issue of the theater that was through at the honorable Dabo's place. So if you take that as a human right, as far as we are concerned, we don't take it as a human right, because when officers are sent to a ground, there are procedures they have to follow before they throw tear gas. So if those procedures are followed according to the law, according to the act, so when we are going to be doing the investigation, we're going to look their actions based on the standard procedures that are laid down. So if they violate those standard procedures that are laid down, that's the time you can hold them culpable. But if they don't violate those laid down rules, there is nothing you can hold them accountable. And let me quick to say here, maybe you don't have all the facts. That particular incident, do you know I have been talking with I don't want to mention his name, at that house for almost 6 hours to plead with him for people to disperse. And he has been giving me, asking me to give him time for 1 hour, and until 7 o'clock before we force them to disperse. And they are within their rights. If police, whatever reason you are gathered, if they said you should disperse, you should disperse. But if you refuse to disperse, the only weapon they have is to throw their gas to make sure they are dispersed. So that was within the procedures, and they follow the procedures as per the letter. So if you have a problem, somebody is sick and somebody is, I don't know. And in fact, when they told me at the time that there are people who fell down and they're at the house, I provided escort to go in to make sure those people are escorted and taken to the hospital that very night. And they did. But I've been liaising with them. So if you don't have all those facts, you say that the guy is sick. Me, I didn't know that he is sick. So, and then there was no report to say complaint against the police of such action. We can only take up care of a case when it is complaint, and we look at it and say, okay, did our officers did something wrong or right? If they did something wrong, we correct it, and then if we need to police them, we police them. Not every action. You need to understand one thing also. Security is paramount. And if you open the floodgate, me and you, we are not secure. Because people need to respect the law. Yes, Chair, I agree. We are the one protect the individual. Yes, we should follow the law. We will, and we will ensure that they follow it. But we cannot give you 100% guarantee where every police officer in the precinct in the state will do it exactly the way we're supposed to do it. That's why these units are created, so that we can try to rectify their mistakes, punish them if we need them. But if we put pressure on them to make sure every single mistake they are punished, you will need them to secure you. They will not be able to secure because they will be fearful that every single mistake that's opening the floodgate for people to do whatever they want, say whatever they want. And some of these incidents, in fact, officers are injured, officers are harassed, officers are assaulted. That's why PS was taken. Nobody's talking about it. That was an officer who was stabbed during the demonstration. We ended up taking it to India at our own cost. Family members, because we are parents, we are fathers, we have sisters, we are brothers. And then nowadays, we don't even use legal weapons. We only use the tear gas and all those barriers that we give. That's within the law. We need, those are internationally accepted standards to disperse crowd. So along the line, we can control the tear gas once we throw the tear gas. That's the reason we are throwing it, to affect people so people can disperse peacefully. So, but if in the events, maybe somebody who has asthma, or you have this, some kind of a disease or whatsoever, respiratory problem, so it may affect you badly. But if that happens, the individual should complain, and then the law will take its course when we do the investigation. But throwing tear gas, we said that's human rights abuse. Then no, every country is abusing the human rights. Because everywhere in the world, that's what happens everywhere.
Anyway, let's take one question from him. Then I'll make a clarification on the motion, and then
Yes, thank you very much. Just want to make a clarification on what PS said. You know, we are dealing with human rights violations, also in relation to the issue of torture, etc., etc. You know, only agents of the state can actually cause torture to other people. When other people do the same to the police, that's a crime, and they need to be held up for that crime. So these are the two variations. Torture is only committed by agents of the state. Let's have that clear. So if a civilian beats a police or any other security, that's a crime, and then the person must be held for that person. So what I want to ask the IG is to explain a bit more on this juvenile thing, because when we went round, we discovered that most of the people who are held in these police stations are very young. That's what we have discovered. And the objective of this meeting is that because we are going to continue our talk, and we are going to be looking out for those things. So you've already made some arrangements for juvenile issues. So if you can a bit explain on that, because we are going to be looking out for issues of that. So that's my question. How do you handle?
I just take a minute, and then we allow everybody, then you come, then you will clarify.
Thank you so very much, Chair, for giving me information. I greet the IG of Police and the PS and all the officers present here. My question is a simple question. The detention centers, my worry is how people are detained in the police station. It is important to us to know their condition in the stations as they are detained, because according to my own experience, according to what I have seen, at times some of the detention centers are in a very horrible condition. And in it, you said as much as they commit the crime, you said it here, they should be treated like human beings. Instead, they should not be treated like animals. Some of them, I wonder whether you normally give them water when they demand, whether you normally give them food at the right time, and whether those detention centers are actually very clean for human beings to be detained there. These are my worry. As much as they commit crime, they are still human beings. We should not kill them, and we should have mercy towards them, and we should compromise. Maybe it's the first offense. In the long run, they may change. So, how do you get them food? How do you get them, whether the detention centers are very clean? We want to know all those things. And that is of importance to this thing. But welcome to the world of democracy. That is what the Gambians advocate for. I say welcome to the world of democracy. that is what the Gambia advocates for. So, IG, here is the world of democracy. Welcome. Thank you.
You have the floor.
Thank you. Let me start with Honorable Baji. Honorable Baji, yes, I agree totally. The detention centers are not up to standard. They are not very good. That's the reason why during my presentation I just said we even trying to change the way, but they are not fit for purpose. If you ask me to arrest some individual, and these are the only place I have, that's the only place I'm going to put them, because I don't have an option. And then look at, even if you look at the budgetary allocations, I think we have been discussing this thing, myself and you. All right, you are demanding too much and then giving me too little. So I think that's why I told you this August House should ensure the securities are giving what they need to make sure we properly give the security you needed. In terms of everything, at all levels. If you look at the security budget today, it's something like 8-10 years ago, the same budget. And then this very house, in fact, when security budget comes here, this is the very house which will reduce, instead of adding, reducing the security budget. Right? So, we are very concerned about detention facility. That's why, in fact, in the new cells, in the new station we are building, we are trying to eliminate the cells. We are trying to have holding rooms where people, if you are detained, you can be held in a humanly clean place. The 2-3 stations that we are building, we only have one single cell, but sometimes you need some stubborn guy you need to be put in the cells to tame them. So that's why we say, okay, put only one cell. The others can be holding rooms. We also provided for where women will be, female detainees. We also provided where juvenile detainees also will be. So those are in fact, we are going forward. We are trying to look for form to make sure we separate the juvenile wing station from the actual police station. So, but all those things cannot be done without funding. We are talking to our partners. I think possibly the first one will be built in Bundu to make sure we have the vulnerable person units where you have bedding, you have sometimes we have kids that we don't even know where to put them. But being juvenile, you are an offender. Actually, you'll be treating like a juvenile and human being, but the offense is the offense. But unfortunately, at the same time, the only police we have is the existing cells. So that's why we are trying to see to make sure we process you before the 72 hours if we can.
Thank you.
Thank you. This answer.
I have answered you.
Well, we say how you handle it generally across the country. You know, we talk about in the regions, there have been some efforts in the regions.
About the juvenile.
It looks like you've done some
No, we are building two. The first one is in fact 3. We are building one, a completely new one in SL. It's supposed to be Bara, but the space. So we send it to SL, which is closer. UNDP, that one UNDP. We have talked to some partners. One we at Olinu. They may say I live in Olinu, that's why we are building that one.
Maybe he wants one in Olinu.
So we are building one there. And then Serakunda, we are demolishing everything, also build a new structure. You live in URA, is Karantaba in URA? Sami Karantaba. Okay, we are building also another new one at Karantaba, Sami Karantaba.
Okay, but there is one question concerning your position on the recommendation of the Human Rights Commission, a particular officer.
Let me tell you, recommendations are not strictly laws. They are opinion of those investigations, and then they recommended for us to do X, Y, Z. But that recommendation say that officers should stay in that place forever. And then these are command responsibility. Because if you want us to secure you, we should also give in the breathing space to command our institution. And then when they raised it, they came, they raised it, they came, they went to publicists and they came to me. I told them, what you did is wrong. You could not direct me to say, we send someone to do X, Y, Z, you cannot transfer it. Why is it in the government so they can post him there forever? He did something wrong. You want to punish him to understand that what he did is wrong. You move him. So he should stay there forever?
No.
Also, just to add what the ID just said, Mr. Chair. And we have to be very frank here. Because when I will call his name, when Golgibo was required to be moved, the then IG Job moved it. And what happened? We saw a spike in crimes. Yes, in the urban city, in the urban area. There was a big spike. And everybody was saying, bring him back, bring him back. There was a public outcry to bring him back. I don't know whether that was what precipitated, I don't know whether that was the reason why he brought him back. But anecdotal evidence showed that there was a demand for him to come back to the country.
What happens when it comes? Crime rate went down?
Yes.
Very well.
It's an opinion.
But you have to listen to me. You have to listen to me.
Chair, I will listen, but
Listen to me first. You don't know what I have to say. Listen to me. What is the purpose of a chair? I will not deny you your chance. I will not deny you floor. You can, as far as I can stay up to 7 p.m. I'm not worried. You'll have chance. But listen to me. What I wanted to say is we are just asking questions for clarification. So that the police will understand that it's not like a dialogue or following something. We just want clarity. So if members raise questions and it's answered, and there's some doubt in them, they have the right to ask for clarification. You will always give them that chance to do that so that the IGP can do the clarification. You've said something and then he is the original, he is the one who asked the question. So he obviously will have it, but before you have it, Honorable Sanya was on before you. So I give chance to Sanya, then after you come in.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Chair, you give double chances to them and without
also,
you're giving double chances to Sanya.
No, but is your hand up?
No.
Long since.
Oh, long since.
Oh, yes.
Like the former speaker will always say.
member spoke.
Like the former speaker will always say, he didn't catch my eye. But now he didn't catch my eye. So you catch my eye now. After that, you see what I was saying.
I'm giving you a chance, don't worry.
All right.
Now, I just also want to make a clarification to the IG. I never said the IG was lying. You understand? And I never personalized the office. I directed my statement to the office of the Inspector General of Police, which I'm sure one day my brother will leave and somebody will come. The office stays. Okay, I commended the IG. When I was closely monitoring the tour he made last week, closing some of his facilities, even my own constituency, Wellington.
Commendable.
That's very commendable. So I'm not saying that what everything the office of the IG is doing is not commendable. You understand? But also we need to state facts as it is. We need discipline in the police force, capacity building in the police force. And that should be a key priority. Build your officers' capacity on human rights. You understand? For the PS, you said you were not taking brief anymore, you were doing. You were doing actually. You were doing actually. So the human rights also, I think, was an act of parliament. The human rights recommendation to move one person to it was an act of parliament. It was not an act of parliament. Okay, because otherwise I wanted to say let us stop making recommendations when it regards to the act of parliament. Such things need to come back to the parliament to deliberate. But hence it is not act of parliament. That's your discretion, IG. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chair, for giving me. I just want to respond to the. I just want to respond to the his last statement. I think the Inspector General of Police in fact will not like that statement to say if Gorigi go, then the entire police, the crime rate in this country will rise up. We have competent police.
I have to draw my statement.
Okay, it's withdrawn.
Can we have one?
Sorry, can I add something there?
Yes.
You know, sometimes when we are in the department, what happened within the department? Not everything we say. Do you know this particular officer? was seriously sick. Until we took him to Dakar, he spent almost 2-3 months there. We spent a lot of money. That was the reason, because the condition where he was, that's the reason why we brought him in. And then he was even given instruction, just his name, because hearing his name is something else. Be there, and the people know you are at the anti-crime. Let the officers do your work whilst we treat you. Currently, he is not even in country because we could not solve the problem with Dakar. Now, currently, we send him to UK. So there are certain things we don't go on in public and say. But it's within my mandate as the Inspector of Police to see, to post. The posting is my mandate. So I don't need to talk to people, can I do this or that? No. Where I deem fit to say, okay, I have a problem. Like what even PSA. Honorable Kante is true. Golby is not the only capable person in the force. But sometimes you have certain issues, you have certain officers to handle it, and then the way you want them to handle it. So Golby, his impact at the anti-crime, even his name only, can mitigate certain things that will happen. And when he came, we have seen the trend has changed. So that was one of some of the reasons. And when the Human Rights Commission came, they understand with me.
Is he brutal?
Huh?
Is he so brutal?
No, it's not brutal. Don't say it's not brutal.
Chair, I just wanted to ask, because I heard the PS saying something. That was directed to the PS for Interior and as well as the IGP. I know other sector directors are not around. The IGP mentioned that they have a human rights department within the police, which is commendable. And then the PS said, I think it's important for them to have human rights department within all, sectors under the Ministry of Interior. And that prompted me to ask this question. Perhaps the Inspector General of Police at the police department, when a police officer, did something wrong, the human rights department at the police will investigate. Is it not wise, for example, if departments are created, if human rights departments are created within the sectors, are you thinking of having that collaboration between yourselves under the Ministry of Interior to take up responsibilities to investigate human rights matters? Because a police officer under your department, when he did something wrong, I am not too convinced the Department of Police, the human rights department at the police, will take that issue seriously to investigate the police officer and take the necessary actions. Is there any thinking for you to have that together so that the investigation can be done in a sectoral form?
There is a mechanism.
Exactly, so that you
can. So that we even invite the SIS to join us.
So if you are not satisfied with our investigation, or the complainant is not satisfied with our complaint, it is escalated to the ministry. But in every police department, there is a professional standard unit. That's normal in police. So we added the human rights unit so that we know that officers are not, in fact, like the Honorable rightly said, we are demanding too much from them. The capacity, in fact, is not even there as it's supposed to be. That's why now we are trying to concentrate on building the capacity of the officer. Okay, the officer doing X, Y, Z. The officer himself would know what he was doing, whether it is wrong or right. So those are some of the issues we are also battling with. So we need to, like, my idea is, hey, you need to retrain every police officer from start, so that people can be at the same level. And we are doing our very best, though difficult with the little resources we have. But like he said, we need time to transform the police.
Thank you. I think this would be a good point for us to disturb the PS, the IG, and their whole team. And once again, I commend you for coming, even though I expressed my disappointment on the orders. But then the PS has given us a reason why those officers are not here, because it's entirely his fault. But we will see within ourselves what we will do, whatever we will communicate to the ministry. So once again, thank you. And just to remind you that we are here for all, but we will also want your presentation to be given to our clerk.
I can give it to him.
Good.
Sorry, the last
The other correction that I want to do is, since our colleague raised a motion, but then the presentation has corrected us, so there is no need for that.
No, Chair, my issue is probably the IG, it was slip of the tongue. But if you look at the audio, you will hear that some are dismissed. Honestly speaking, but now that it's rectified on the paper, that's okay.
No, it's okay.
No, I mean, I want to say something. Please allow me.
Go ahead.
What I want the honorable members of this committee to know, as long as I remain the IGP, I am committed to human rights standards. And any issue they have, they can raise those issues with us, ask for explanation, and we'll explain whether steps are taken, whether investigations were done in those particular things. What the human rights unit does for us. There were, currently, I think there were 2 cases that they referred to us. They were investigated, documentation came. In fact, we went on even compensating one of the guys. One of the guys is even coming to see me. Personally, I want him to come and see me for me to apologize to him and then give him the compensation. So I am an officer today. Tomorrow I may not be an officer. And the other thing also, my family member also can be affected. I am not in any side of the coins. I do my job as the Inspector General of Police.
Thank you very much.
Can I bring Fatou Bush?
Yes, of course.
Sick right now.
Of course.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Pierre. Thank you. You now have to go. The rest of the committee will stay.
Maybe Fatou Bush was kind of collateral damage. So we will rectify that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You will not stay long because I just felt that the last night. No, this is the press can take